Sports Talk. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are doing all right. Again, I'm your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, and today we got another episode of NFL Wake Up. Again, good morning. It's Sunday, one of the best days of the week, depending on how you look on it. Right now, it's not NFL season currently, so not much to look forward to. But hey, you still got me. I know it's early. Get your coffee, get your orange juice, whatever you're doing this morning. Pull up, listen, watch, whatever you're at. Thanks for everyone that's been watching on YouTube and subscribing. TikTok's been going crazy. I'm up at least 58 subs on that and another 34 subscriptions on YouTube. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you guys, your support. As you can see here too, we got some Clutch merch right here. You know, go get your sweatshirt. I know it's summer's rolling around here or spring, depending on where you live in the country. It might be hot, it might be cold. Make sure you head over to my link tree or my bio in my Instagram or my TikTok. Make sure you get the link to where you can get all things Clutch related. So good morning. We got some people already. We got CJ Smooth. Good. He said, let's go, bro. Hey, shout out to him, man. He's starting a new show, a new podcast called Kicks and Sticks. Make sure you look it up on YouTube, man. It's going to be good. It's basically going to be featured around sneakers, if you're a sneakerhead, and people that play video games. So hence the word, hence the name, Kicks and Sticks. So he just had a couple posts this week with some pretty good drops. He had the Spider-Verse Jordans that came out, and I believe the Jordan 4s Lightning Edge. I don't know. I'm not a sneakerhead, so I don't know. But make sure you head over to his page and check it out. Shout out to him. Patrick Brown, also another content creator, man. Make sure you check out his page, the Lakers Forum. And he also has Chaotic Sports. Good morning to him, who is also on the Grid Network. And of course, my audio isn't on. I always struggle with that. I don't know what it is with StreamYards, but you guys always miss my opening monologue because the mute button's on somehow. All right. And he says audio is good now, so good to go. That's all that matters. And my boy P2 4K Studio, one of the best videographers in the Valley of Vegas. If you need him, make sure you head over to his Instagram, his TikTok. He's going up. He's a busy man, so glad to see him up early this Sunday morning. So shout out to you guys, man. And again, if you guys want to check me out, let me get him out of here real quick. Those are all my social media platforms down below. Make sure you head on over there, man. We got TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, and head over to the Grid Network to check out those other amazing content creators that we have there. So we got it all, man. So it's good to be here this Sunday morning. All right. So we're here. The draft just concluded last week. And I was thinking, well, it'd be kind of interesting. I know it's way too early. I mean, we just hit May. I know the schedules hadn't even dropped yet. I believe the schedules are dropping on May 11th, I think, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's when it was reported. But either way, I said, it'd be fun to do a little quick top 10, not the whole NFL, right? Because honestly, outside the top 10, who cares really at this point? Maybe later on down the line, I'll maybe do a large one. But first things first, let's get straight into it. Here are my way too early team power rankings, right? Well, I'm going to go each by line, rank by rank. We'll start at number one with the Kansas City Chiefs. No brainer there. All right, defending Super Bowl champs. They got Patrick Mahomes. That's all you need. That's all you need. So you still got Andy Reid. They didn't have to do a lot in the draft. They lost an edge rusher. They drafted one. We'll see how that works out for him, for them actually. But overall, they're still the kings of the AFC because why? They have the best combination in coach and quarterback, which is Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Now, Eric Bieniemy is gone. Now he is the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, and now he will be a true offensive coordinator, unlike where he was at in Kansas City. But still, no brainer for me. They're the number one team. I mean, they're the defending champs. I got to put some respect on their name, and they're going to be right in the middle of it all as the season starts back up. All right, second team might be a surprise to a lot of people. The Cincinnati Bengals. I have my reasons. I think Joe Burrow is probably the second best quarterback in the National Football League. Right, he's went toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes in AFC Conference Championship games, throw for throw. He's a talent, and this team now I know they've lost some guys on the defense. I know Jesse Bates flew down south to join the Atlanta Falcons, but I think the Bengals did a good job in addressing some of their needs in the draft. And still, you still have Joe Burrow, you still have Jamar Chase, and you still have a formidable running game and Joe Mixon. They're still trying to improve the offensive line. So that's going to be a work in progress. They'll get some guys back from injury. But Joe Burrow and the Bengals are well coached. I had my suspicions on Zach Taylor, but he turned it around and he's got his guy. And Joe Burrow, props to him. I mean, he went into that situation as a young rookie to a dysfunctional team. I mean, the Bengals had been not relevant at all, really. Marvin Lewis was there for quite some time, only got one playoff win or something crazy like that. I don't even remember. And then now you're a couple years into Joe Burrow's career. This is his third year, or I think it is, right? Third or fourth right now. He's going into his fourth, if I'm not mistaken. You played in the Super Bowl. You've played in 2 AFC Conference Championship games. That's pretty good. And the ceiling is only gonna it's getting higher. So Bengals are the number 2 team in my guesstimation because they still have a lot of their core pieces intact. Now, a lot of people are going to wonder, well, why didn't you have the Eagles? Because they were just in the Super Bowl. Look, I like the Eagles. I think in this offseason, they've lost a lot, especially on the defensive side. I know they went ahead and tried to address those issues, which I've given them their love on social media. Like, they drafted a lot of great guys. Okay, now we have to see how they'll turn out. But on paper right now, they're still one of the best teams in the National Football League, and they can easily be flip-flop with the Bengals. But the reason why I put them in at 3, a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of turnover, whether it was coaching staff or some of the players, right? Most of their defense has been gone. A lot of their key stakeholders on the back end are gone. Gardner Johnson is gone. Epps gone to the Raiders. You lose Hargraves to the 49ers. Those are some key cog pieces that they needed on that defense. A defense that was, ranked as one of the highest defenses last year. Obviously, they ran into a buzzsaw a la Patrick Mahomes, and the rest is history. But still a formidable team, a very formidable defense. And then you lose your defensive coordinator and your offensive coordinator all in one month or a couple days. Offense is going to be fine. Jalen Hurts got his money. That's kind of a concern for me, just a little bit. I'm not mad that he got paid, but when those guys get paid, quarterbacks, they start to change a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to be a prick or anything like that, but their psyche will probably change because now he's going to be like, I got to make these throws. I got to live to the contract. Hopefully that doesn't happen to him. As painfully as it me for you to say that I want to see Jalen Hurts succeed. I kind of do, because I don't want to hate on anybody. Obviously, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, but if it does pan out that they suck, well, I ain't gonna be mad either, right? Because I'm a Cowboys fan and I hate the Eagles, but I don't want to see him kind of spiral down per se. Just because I just don't want to wish that on anybody. But I'm already getting comments on that. Let's see here. Patrick, I'm gonna get to that in just a second. He says Dolphins at 6 is a reach, and I'll explain that in just a second here. Let me get through that, brother. All right. But anyway, Eagles at number 3. They're still a solid team, one of the top teams, if not the top team in the NFC, hands down. Okay. 4th, I got the San Francisco 49ers. They were probably wondering, well, why you got them? Their defense is going to be solid. That defense has always been good. They've always been able to carry the quarterbacks, whoever the quarterback is. Now, Brock Purdy going to be still coming off injury. got Trey Lance. They did sign Sam Darnold, which I think might be a good fit for him there with Kyle Shanahan. They just need someone not to screw it up. And I think Sam Darnold could do that. I think Sam Darnold can definitely do that. Again, they're in a division that's winnable. Obviously, Seattle's making their moves. The Rams might be maybe one more year or two trying to get back into contention, but they still got some missing pieces on their defensive side. But the Niners, I feel like, are the kings of the, or one, I wouldn't say the kings, but they're definitely a perennial powerhouse in the NFC West, and I like them. And what it boils down to for me, well, let me list you guys part of what my criteria is when I think about these teams overall. Okay, and some of it may make sense, and some of you may say, well, that doesn't make sense. Number one, I look at the organization. Right? Is it a stable organization? Okay, because you can't have a lot of craziness going on for the most part, and that's just part of the criteria. It's not. It's again, this is all weighted, right? Because some people, oh, why you got this team on there? Relax, trust me. Okay. The other thing, I look at their quarterback play, right? They don't have to have a superstar under center, right? You can still win a lot of games in the National Football League without having a superstar. But are there questions? Are there major concerns about that? And yes or no? And some of these teams do have that. And the Niners come to mind, and the Dolphins, which I'll talk about there in just a second. And number three, their defenses. How good are their defenses, right? And so far, the four teams that I've gone through have top 10 defenses, arguably. Well, maybe the Bengals, maybe not, but they have a bend but don't break type of style defense, which I can get over with because you got a superstar back there. So those are some of the criteria that I use when I'm thinking about my power rankings. Obviously, I'm not using, sometimes stats come into play, but right now there are no stats because the season's over. All I have is to go off of what happened last year. All right, moving on. Number 5, I got the Buffalo Bills quarterback. Really not a question. The only question about him is, where is he at now? Is he going to continue to take steps to being better? Kind of wasn't a bad year for Josh Allen, but it wasn't like it definitely knocked him down. You'll see in my rankings later on when I do the top 10 quarterbacks. But to his credit, they rely so much on this guy, man. It's ridiculous how much they rely on him. He's basically Lamar Jackson, but for Buffalo. Okay. But they're still a good team. Sean McDermott has done a great job there. That's a good organization. They're always like a piece away from getting there. They were in the AFC Conference Championship game not that long ago. They had a bad loss to the Cincinnati Bengals this last past playoff, but still a formidable team, right? One of the top teams in the AFC without a doubt. So I got them at number 5. All right. So to answer the question about Patrick Brownhouse, so this is what he wrote. He said, Dolphins are a reach at 6. The obvious elephant in the room is Tua. Can he stay healthy for a full season? That's the only concern with their ranking. This is a make or break year in contract talks. Obviously, yes, I agree. But let's just put aside the health concerns right now a little bit just for Tua. If today, let's just say the season started today, this team is one of number 3 or 4th in offensive efficiency. They're only going to get better. Their draft was a mid draft. I still like them. Even if Teddy Bridgewater has to come in, Skylar Thompson. I mean, look, they pushed the Bills to the limit. I like them. Could it be a reach? Yeah, but I love their offensive firepower so much because they have a lot of it, man. I mean, it's a track meet when you look at their roster offensively. Could they easily be slide? Yeah, they could be. And maybe you're right. Maybe I had them a little bit too high, but I do want to give them credit. Tua is the biggest concern for sure. He is the biggest concern because he's arguably he's a top 10 quarterback, but the health concerns for me is a bit of an issue, of course. But maybe I'm giving them a little bit of high praise here at number 6. But I do like their coaching. I like the organization overall, and they're in a division where it's out in the open. I mean, maybe they take the next steps to challenging the Buffalo Bills. I don't have the Jets on here because they kind of floundered at the end of the year. But maybe that'll change as the season starts. We'll see in the next couple months. So yeah, those are my reasons for the Dolphins. I mean, yeah, maybe I gave them a little bit too much love, but I don't want to be a fanboy and just have the Cowboys at number 1 because that would not be objective. So but therefore there it is. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars staying in the state of Florida. I like them. Trevor Lawrence, a young quarterback. Doug Peterson did a great job coming in there, and they made the playoffs in his first season. there, right? This was his first season or second season. Correct me if I'm wrong. But still, they that game against the Chiefs in the playoffs, was it ever in doubt for the Chiefs? I don't know. But you know what? I saw a lot of young promise out of the young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And what you need in this National Football League is a quarterback, and they got a young one. And I think the sky's the limit for him moving forward. If Doug Peterson can continue to add some more pieces, which they've done in the offseason, they've done a great job. Their defense is getting better. Jonathan Allen, I believe, is in his contract year, the defensive end that they have there. But they drafted another guy, and I forget the guy, Walker, I think his name was. So defense should be good. Division winnable for sure. You're going to be competing with Indianapolis, who's kind of rebuilding. Tennessee also kind of like in a rebuild, and the Texans also in a rebuild. So no reason why this team should not win their division straight up. But again, we got a long road ahead of us before we could even think about that, right? Because we got to see the schedule. So when schedule comes out, we'll see who they got. Like, we have an idea who they're going to be playing. We just don't know when and where and the dates and things of that nature. So we'll see. All right. On at number 8, I got my Dallas Cowboys. At number 8, a lot of questions still. I think, Dak had a terrible season, for the most part. Missed a couple 4 games due to a hand injury or finger injury. Thumb, I think it was, to be exact. Made the playoffs. Had a great showing against Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card. And then I don't know what happened to the offense against the Niners. Now, the Niners off defense is good, right? But Dak, didn't do what he needed to do. The defense delivered against the Niners, holding them to like 19 points, something crazy like that. And we couldn't even manage to only got like 1 touchdown in that game. So he's the biggest question mark. Now, they went and they got some more help on defense in the draft. Now, they did add some pieces via offseason. You got the Stephon Gilmore, trade for the Colts, pair him up with Trayvon Diggs. And there are guys like Brandon Cooks, a wide receiver. And that's pretty much it. They've drafted some other guys, signed some unrestricted free agents through the draft or after the draft. Did not really address the offensive line. Connor McGovern is gone. He's a Buffalo Bill now. So there's still a gaping hole on the right side or left side of the line. On the guard side. So, which to me is going to be a problem, because how do you affect a quarterback? Pressure up the middle, and you got to have good guys there. So they probably feel like they got guys that they could maybe rotate in there, but I thought there were 2 good ones in the draft. They decided on Mozzie Smith, who they felt was a bigger need for them at this point in time. So to stop the run, so to help their defense. So I don't know. We'll see. But the question remains, how far Dak can take this team at the end of the day. No more Zeke. Tony Pollard is going to be coming off of an injury. We'll see how he handles that. They drafted a 6th-round guy, Deuce Vaughn, a 5'5", 100 and something pounds. We'll see, man. There's a lot of questions surrounding this team. They have the talent. On paper, this is one of the most talented teams, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, I don't think they did enough, man. I really don't think. If you were to do, you stack them up against, the Bengals right now, or even the Chiefs offensively, maybe the Chiefs, but the thing with the Chiefs, comparing them to the Dallas, is they got Patrick Mahomes. So they'll be formidable. Mike McCarthy's calling the plays now, not Kellen Moore. We'll see. And speaking of Kellen Moore, that's my next segue into the number 9 team, the LA Chargers. Justin Herbert now is going into his 4th, 5th, almost 5th season, if I'm not mistaken now. And he's been steady. He's been steady. My only problem with the Chargers is their head coach. Brandon Staley's an idiot. He's an idiot. And I think a lot of times he gets in the way of this team's success, or the Chargers are just cursed, period. They're just cursed. But, I like their roster. Their defense is getting a little older, a little more injury, riddled. Joey Bosa seems like he's always hurt down the end of the year. They added Khalil Mack, but, how much more longer can he perform at a high level? I believe he missed some time. On the offensive side, Keenan Allen, he's in and out of the lineup as well. They added a wide receiver out of TCU, Quentin Johnson, who's kind of like Mike Williams. So surprised that they added him instead of going and getting like a true slot guy, like a Jordan Addison, somebody like that. It is what it is. But in a tough division, man, you got the Chiefs. The Broncos, I think, are going to be better. The Raiders are always going to be kind of pushing a little bit. We'll see how they goes with them. They're not a top team, but in the division, they're pretty solid. They'll beat the Chargers at home, but then go on to the road to LA and lose to the Chargers or something, vice versa, something like that. But still, this team has a lot of weaponry, a lot of talent. It's just the coaching. So we'll see. And then finally, the Detroit Lions get some love here on NFL Sunday Wake Up. They've done a lot in the offseason. The way they finished the year last year was stellar. They had a stellar way to finish. They knocked out the Packers in what was essentially like a play-in game for the Packers, beat them on the road. A place where the Lions don't win a lot is in Lambeau, and they beat Aaron Rodgers in his final game there as a Packer. And defensively, this team is horrendous. Offensively, one of the better teams. Jared Goff is steady at quarterback. I like what he's doing there. And they got a complimentary wide receiver room. Amon St. Brown, Jameson Williams, who's going to miss 6 games, unfortunately, now. But they've added some other guys like DJ Chark. And then they drafted Sam Laporta in this year's draft from Iowa. So, Dan Campbell, I was kind of, I'm not willing to say he's a what you call it, a scholar or a guy, what do you call it? Like a master of offense or just a master head coach. He's a motivating head coach. And I didn't think it was going to work there. So far, it looks like it's working. They're changing the culture there. We'll see, because now they're on people's radars now. They're on people's radars. And now it's different when you're under the radar. You can just kind of work methodically, do your thing. But a lot of people are going to be looking at the Detroit Lions. In the division, again, that's winnable, right? Packers, new quarterback, right? Young quarterback. Vikings, it's hard to say with them what they're going to be doing. The Bears, I'm not sold on Justin Fields. Honestly, I know they added, DJ Moore, and they had, you got Mooney there. You got Claypool there. I just don't. Something about him I just don't feel confident about. But the Lions will be right in the middle of that divisional race there. So those are my top 10 teams. Love them, like them, or leave it. It is what it is. You come up with your own and let me see, and I'll critique it myself, and we'll see. We'll go from there. So just kidding. We did have some comments. Patrick Brown said the Jags will have a first place schedule, obviously, right, because they made the playoffs. So they'll play Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. And I think that it's going to boil down to just making less mistakes. The team, when they play these teams, can they minimize mistakes? Because those teams, Buffalo, I think they can definitely get Buffalo, because Buffalo's constantly making mistakes. But Kansas City and Cincinnati, those are button-up teams. And Mahomes and Burrow, they usually don't make mistakes. I can see Josh Allen throwing a pick somewhere, and they can win that game. It just depends. Is it on the road? Do they got to go? Or are they playing at home? I can't wait for the schedule drop to come out. That's going to be exciting. And then he said, thoughts on Micah Parsons switching to edge rusher? He's kind of like a TJ Watt now. He's adding some more weight. To me, because I think this is where they were going with him anyway. Honestly, he's an elite pass rusher. That's why he's putting on the weight. He's trying to get stronger so he can hold up throughout this season, which obviously he couldn't do last year because he was just too small. So my thoughts is that, yeah, hell yeah. I mean, if we can get after the quarterback, because we don't really have another guy that can do that. DeMarcus Lawrence is not the edge rusher he used to be. Now he's better in the run now that he's getting older. But if we can get after that quarterback, but teams were I think the only other pass rusher we have is from the inside, which is probably Ziggy Odigizua. And he's an interior guy, maybe Dorrance Armstrong maybe comes to mind, but we don't have another edge rusher that can get after it like that. So if you make him primarily an edge rusher, then so be it now, but we're hoping that guys that they've drafted in years past, or the Overshown, the kid that they drafted out of Texas, maybe can come on and play a little bit outside of linebacker with LVE. Maybe it'll work out, and we'll see how Dan Quinn draws it up. And then Patrick also follows up and says, for Detroit to sweep the Packers in 2022, that was icing on the cake. Yeah, they started 1-7 and they finished 8-2 in the second half. So, yeah, they're going to be a team that a lot of people are going to be eyeing for sure. Can they handle that? That's the problem. Will they be able to handle that? So we'll just have to wait and see. All right. Moving on to the next segment. today I wanted to do something called start, bench, or cut. You've probably seen this on social media plenty of times, but I want to do it here on NFL Sunday Wake Up. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of running backs. So today we're going to be talking about these three guys: Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, and no particular order. Who would you start, bench, or cut? Now, before I get into it, I'm going to read you some stats. And I'm not going to say the name of the person or anything like. Obviously, I know the name. But contestant number one rushed. He had 349 attempts. He rushed for 1,538 yards, and his average per carry was 4.4 yards a carry. He had 13 touchdowns. Okay, that's contestant number one. And in the comments, you can guess who maybe that might be just by putting some things together. The second guy, he had 295 attempts. He rushed for 1,312 yards. Also had an average yards per carry of 4.4, and he had 10 touchdowns this past season. And the final contestant here on start, bench, or cut, he had 302 attempts, 1,525 yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry and had 12 touchdowns. So I don't know, maybe you guys, I'll give you guys some time to think about that as I continue to talk. So these are three top guys for sure. I think arguably maybe you, and there were some other guys that I wanted to mix it up a little bit because to me, these guys are very close in stats wise. Just a couple different nuances for some of these guys. Some of them older, some of them maybe they're past their prime. Some of the guys are coming into their prime. So when I started thinking, who would I take? Who would I start, bench, and cut? So no one's answered in the comment section yet. But either way, this is who I would start. I would go with Nick Chubb, right? Doesn't have the injuries, kind of like the other two guys have before. I think Nick Chubb is what? He's 27 years old, so he's in the middle of Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. So he's at a good age. He's probably, if not at his peak, he's getting to his peak. And so I feel like it's going to be almost time for them to move off of him because obviously he's going to want a big contract. But for the sake of this argument for today, I would definitely start Nick Chubb. The next guy, who would I bench? I would bench Saquon. So therefore, I'm keeping him on the team, but I'm benching him. Saquon is 26, did have a really good comeback season last year. No major injuries. I don't think he got hurt like that last year. Maybe if he did, it was like 1 or 2 games, but it wasn't like the whole year where he's been gone for quite some time. So I'm gonna go with Saquon to bench, and then honestly to cut, I gotta go with Derrick Henry. And here are the obvious reasons. Number one, he's older. He's 29. He's been injury plagued. He's got a lot of wear and tear. Okay. A lot of wear and tear. And honestly, it's time to move off from him. Honestly, if I was starting a team, I'm not considering I'm my GM of the Titans. I'm just saying for me, if I had to start an organization, who would I start, bench, or cut? I'd have to cut Derrick Henry. Even though I feel like he does have some tread on the tire still, but he's the older out of all of them. He takes the most pounding than all of these guys. And I feel like he's past his prime. He's on the downturn. He's 29. When they hit that 30-year-old range, most running backs hit that wall. So therefore, I have to, cut him. So there you have it. Start, bench, or cut. We got some comments here. CJ Smooth, he's like, I would start Derrick Henry. But then he came back and said, you're right. See, hope you gained some knowledge there, my brother. And then me and Patrick we were on the same one. So Chubb, Barkley, and Henry. So I'll keep doing this every week. I'll mix it up, maybe add some other receiver running backs, maybe do some wide receivers, quarterbacks. Let me know what you guys want to see next. But it's a conversation starter because the reason why I picked these guys is because they're all close. If you look at the stats, that's why I read the stats in the beginning, because you look at it, you're like, oh wow, like they all average around the same amount of yards per carry, with the exception of Nick Chubb. He had a little bit more. Touchdown ratio, pretty much all close. It just boils down to the age and the injuries. So Nick Chubb has not had a significant injury, unlike Saquon and Derrick, which God bless him. The other two guys have missed a lot of games. So that's where we're at. So I hope you guys like that one. because it was pretty fun. I like looking at the stats. I like stats, don't get me wrong, but to look at it from that perspective, to see how close they were, it's pretty remarkable. So it's hard to determine who would you start, bench, or cut, and that's why I like doing this segment. I'm going to continue to keep doing that. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section. All right, moving along. Top 10 NFL quarterbacks right now, today. We're not talking about, oh, well, they've done this for 5-6 years and the season ended. And number 10 is kind of catch a lot of flack, but I got some rationale behind that because there were two other guys that I thought could probably crack the top 10, but I'll break that down. So really quick, Patrick Mahomes, that's a no-brainer. I don't even have to even go into that. I mean, let's just be real. The guy, 41 touchdowns last year, 67.1% completion percentage, and he threw for over 5,200 yards. And won the Super Bowl, and literally put the team on his back in the Super Bowl. All right. The next guy got Joe Burrow, 68% completion rate, which is really nice. 35 touchdowns, and threw for over 4,400 yards. And I love what he's doing there. Number 3, Jalen Hurts just got the money. He did miss some games due to some injury, but still had a remarkable season. 22 touchdowns. His completion rate is 66%, close to 67, and he threw for over 3,007 yards, 3,700 yards. So really good year for him, and it should get better. Hopefully the money don't change him as far as on the field. Not as a person, I don't know him personally, but on the field, is he going to want to start forcing the ball to prove that he's worth that contract? So we'll wait and see. Josh Allen comes in at number 4. Completion rate went down. He's at 63%. Touchdowns 35. Interceptions 14. Look, I can live with interceptions. It's just that his interceptions are pretty bad, man. Like red zone, and I didn't pull up the stat on that, but I've seen it with my own eyes, man. He has the most inopportune interceptions. So that's my thing, but still a good quarterback, and they rely heavily on him. My 5th quarterback, I got Justin Herbert, a stud, 68% completion rate. He's got 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he's not coached very well. Brandon Staley's an idiot, and he's still getting it done. And he threw for 4,739 yards last season. All right. Trevor Lawrence, another young guy, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Completion rate is 66.3%. He threw for over 4,000 yards, close to just over 4,100 yards. And I like where his trajectory is going. He can easily be moving up in the top 5, probably replacing a guy like a Josh Allen, somebody like that, moving forward for sure. All right. Tua. Now I know he's got the injury, but when you look at the stats, you peel that back. Had a pretty good year, even though he missed a couple games due to concussion. 64.8% completion rate, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he threw for 3,500 yards. And it could have been more, obviously, if he didn't get hurt. He put together a couple games where it was like 300-400 yards a game. Not bad. So I really like where Tua's going. And then Jared Goff at number 8, very steady. Look, Jared Goff doesn't get a lot of love because he's not flashy. He's not mobile like maybe some of the other guys on this list. But he led the Rams to a Super Bowl, at least an appearance, right? Obviously, they didn't get it done. But, he went to Detroit. The offense is still good there. And, I thought he's still a good quarterback. I don't mind him being on the Detroit Lions. And as a Detroit Lion, obviously maybe he won't win you the big game, but he's going to be a steady force there until maybe they can develop Hendon Hooker, or maybe if they have to go back in the draft next year and get somebody else. But Jared Goff is still a guy. All right. He's at least one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League for sure. All right. And then at number 9, number 9, we got, I'm sorry. No, he was at number 9. I'm tripping. Geno Smith. Geno Smith, really good year. Geno Smith had been in the league for quite some time. This was his best year by far. He's on the right team for him, right? You look at his stats. He had 30 touchdowns, 69.8% completion rate. That's really good, man. That's really good. He's up there with Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. He's averaging close to 7.5 yards per pass. And he threw for 4,282 yards, man. That's pretty good. That's pretty good when they run the football out there in Seattle. So I like him. And then finally, the last guy. A lot of people are going to get on me for this, and they're going to say, "Oh my God, you got Dak Prescott at number 10. You're such a homer." Blah blah blah. Okay. And when I was making this list, I thought about that. Look, I tried to be very aware of that. The fact that I'm proud to be a Cowboys fan. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm a Cowboys fan. But when you do a show that's dedicated to all of the NFL, I don't want to look like a fanboy, because if that's the case, I could just easily start a Cowboys fan page and just be a fanboy on there. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not to say that all people that start their fan pages are fanboy, but I like to be honest. So when I was making this list, there was two other guys that I thought about: Lamar Jackson and A-Rod. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. Now Lamar missed quite some time, obviously, towards the end of the season. So kind of discredit him a little bit just because of the injuries per se. And then Aaron Rodgers was the other guy. So then what I ended up doing, but before I get into the comparison, so Dak last year in one of his worst years, if not the worst year that he had, he put together 23 touchdowns. His completion rate was 66.2%. His average pass yardage was 7.3, and he only threw for 2,860 yards. Why? Because he missed 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks in the year, and just was never really able to pick it back up. So terrible season for him. And then when I looked at Aaron Rodgers' season from last year, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, completion rate was 64.6, average yards per completion 6.8, and obviously he threw 3,695 yards because he had more games. He played in more games. That's just the fact. Lamar Jackson, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, completion rate was 62.3, and he threw for 2,242 yards. So because he missed some time. So what the edge for me was this: Dak had a better year as far as completion rate than Aaron Rodgers. So that put me up a little bit more. But then I started looking at further into their situation. So I went back, right? Overall, I went to their careers, right? So career-wise, Dak has played in 88 games, obviously. His passer rate is 97.8%. Completion is 66.6. Now, the touchdowns and interceptions, obviously, he's going to have, less than Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers has been playing a lot longer. But he had 166 touchdowns. He's thrown 38 interceptions his whole career and just over 1,600 pass attempts. Lamar Jackson in 74 games as a starter, 96.7 passer rating, 63.7 completion rate. So 3 points lower than Dak Prescott, right? And this, and I'm going to bring that up here later on. Touchdowns, 101 touchdowns, right? Obviously, that's a lot of touchdowns. 65 interceptions as a starter career-wise, right? All right. And then Aaron Rodgers. He's played over 200-something games. Passer rating is going to be higher, 103.6. He's, arguably one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. Completion rate, 65.3. Touchdowns, 475. Interceptions, 105. So those are the stats. And the reason why I chose Dak, it was close because to me, it was close between him and Aaron Rodgers. Dak, to me, just had a really, really bad season, flat out. And Aaron Rodgers didn't have a great year too, as well. But I feel like, to me, just the slight edge, just the completion rate was big enough for me. Aaron Rodgers played a full year, and we've seen Dak perform. When the biggest problem with Dak is he inconsistent. So if I get a lot of hate for this, so be it. It is what it is. Most people won't even listen to this whole segment because when you provide the stats to it, they're those guys, last year they weren't all that different. Only an exception that they missed time with Lamar Jackson and Dak. A-Rod didn't really miss any time. He didn't miss any starts, right? And he still didn't run away. So that's part of the reason why, too, I put Dak in there at number 10. But look, you can put Aaron Rodgers in here. I don't think Lamar really deserves to be in the top 10 right now. Maybe when the season starts, yeah, for sure. I'll definitely be more than happy to come on here and see what happens. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, Patrick, he says Mahomes didn't have a number one wide receiver. Still got, you're right. He did not have a number one wide receiver. He had Juju Smith-Schuster he was throwing to, right? Mr. TikTok. Burrow played with Jamar Chase and still went throw for throw with Mahomes. You can't go with either guy. Can't go wrong. Says Josh Allen flamed out after the big game in Kansas City. After that, it was little to be desired with the shaky defenses. His elbow injury hampered, and it was obvious in the divisional game. Yep, I agree. And to correct the same, he said you can't go wrong with either guy. Absolutely. Honestly, to me, it's 1 and 2. After that, everybody else can kind of be mixed in there. All right. After Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts probably is the next guy in line, but I got to see him do it again this year. Hopefully he can get it through the season with no injuries. If he can replicate what he's done last year, then I'll be like, you know what? He's up there. But last year was his best year by far, for sure. And he's gotten better each year. So we'll have to wait and see. All right. That's all I got, man. But before we get out of here, I said, I wanted to do a little quick segment on wake up. So today I want to talk about Lamar Jackson. Says he gets a lot of pub on social media, and I get a lot of hate because of my comments on him. So I'm going to look into the camera and I want to say this to everyone. Listen, I'm happy that Lamar Jackson got paid. I have no problem with him getting the money that he got. It is what it is. If the Baltimore Ravens want to pay him that money, it's at their discretion. Okay. But what I don't like is when people come after me or anybody else that talks any type of negativity about Lamar Jackson, and they always want to bring up the race card. And to me, it has nothing to do with race, at least for me. Maybe there's other people out there that work that way. I for sure do not work in that fashion. My concerns with Lamar Jackson, and people need to wake up on this. Okay. He's a good quarterback. Okay. Most people think he's elite. I just read you his career stats. He's not that far off from Dak Prescott, to be honest with you. The only difference is that he's got an NFL MVP. And why did he win that MVP? It's debatable. Probably because how many touchdowns did he rush for? Go back and look that up. Okay. So it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with a black man being paid, because there's other black quarterbacks that have been paid, and I ain't got no problem with it. Okay. The problem is that the guy is always hurt. And if you don't play, that's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. So when people need to wake up on it. Now I know this country, a lot of things are racially generated. Okay. But when it comes to sports, for me per se, it has nothing to do with race for me. So when I get people coming in my comments and saying, oh, you're a hater and this and that, and then when I school people on some of the things that maybe they happen to overlook because they're so blind by trying to comment on me or anyone else, they shut up quickly, right? Really fast. Because that's all you need to do is prove people that, listen, my job here is not to show you that I'm right or that you're wrong. My job for this show, or this whole premise of what I do, is just to bring insight. What you do with the information is up to you. If you still think Lamar Jackson is the number one quarterback in the league, then so be it. That's your thought. That's your opinion. But there are facts. The fact is that he's hurt a lot. The fact of the matter is he kind of comes a little bit unhinged when he sees a little adversity. Okay. We've seen that with his offseason posts, just in general. Okay. So it has nothing to do with him being a black man getting paid. I want to see quarterback. Listen, when you look at the draft, the top quarterbacks were primarily, out of all of them, with the exception of Will Levis, right? We're all black. So this is good for the National Football League. We're seeing more and more African-American quarterbacks take on starting roles, which we've never seen. Patrick Mahomes, he's half white, half black, right? Oh, but people don't claim him as black. Why? Because he's half white. Who cares? He still has African-American in him. Okay. So it doesn't matter, man. When I look at these guys, I don't look at them if they're white, black, Asian, Mexican. It doesn't matter. I look at them as a quarterback. Can they play the position? And when I look at Lamar Jackson, the fact of the matter is he's 2-4 in his playoffs, right? I think so, right? His pass rating isn't that great, much more compared to the bottom guys in the top 10 that I just had, right? So, like I said in my post, I don't care about his regular season anymore. If you're going to get that money, you're going to get a lot of responsibility that comes with getting paid, and you're going to have to win. Anything less, for me, some people want to see him in the Super Bowl, but anything less than an AFC Conference Championship game for me and Lamar Jackson is a failure, because the money that he's being paid, it's not worth it. It's simple return on investment. You're paying someone a certain amount of money, you expect a certain amount of results. Oh, Dak got paid. Yeah. And I'll give it to Dak too. He sucked last year, and he's getting paid a lot of money too, right? So as I'm always saying, guys that get paid, and the next guy that gets paid, whether it's Justin Herbert, whether it's Joe Burrow, any of these guys, right? They're all going to get paid at some point. So I'm not mad about that. But at the end of the day, when you start taking jabs at people's credibility in regards to, well, he's a brother, so you mad at him. Look, I'm not here for that. I'm really not here for that. I'm here just to run a football show. Has nothing to do with race, anything like that. So if you have an issue, fine, you can comment on it. It is what it is. And I may or may not respond depending on how I feel on that day, right? Because sometimes I got time for it and sometimes I don't have time for it. But if you come to me, you better come correct, because you can't just say inflammatory comments and then run behind your comments. Because when I come for you, I'm going to come with facts. I'm going to come with information and knowledge about the situation. So America, everybody else, wake the hell up. Okay. So that's all I got. But this is something I'm going to try to do every week, because people need to be informed at the end of the day. So again, to reiterate, I'm not hating on Lamar Jackson because he's black. I'm hating on him. Well, not even hate. I'm just providing information because the guy is always hurt. And he got his money. Good for him. Good for his family. It's going to change their wealth for the foreseeable future. So congrats to him. He did what he needed to do. But you better put up, or it's time to shut up. And Baltimore Ravens fans, you guys, I know that you guys are happy that you got your quarterback, but will he be healthy at the end of the day? So that's my only concern. All right. Good show. Appreciate you guys being in the comments section, man. It was a great one. Be on the lookout for my content that's coming out on Instagram, social media, TikTok, vice versa. Probably going to work on some other YouTube videos down here in the future, but I love doing this, man. This was good. This was fun today. Hope you guys enjoy whatever it is that you got going on. But I gotta go, man. I got things to do. It's Sunday morning. It's probably Sunday afternoon for the rest of you guys on the East Coast, but I appreciate you guys. Like I always say, make sure you catch my show next week, Sunday, live right here on YouTube, same spot, man. You don't want to miss out. We'll see what we got cooking there. So other than that, man, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, this is Clutch Sports Talk with me, Ryan Flowers, NFL Sunday Wake Up. Never settle till the work is done. Let's go. Peace out, guys. Get the merch.